Recent months have seen an increase in the number of reports that city officials have received regarding wild boars that have invaded residential areas, wreaking mayhem and posing a significant risk to the safety of the general public. This particular occurrence has never taken place in the past. In general, these animals tend to remain on the periphery, causing damage to crops in rural areas, and they almost never venture into densely populated areas. On the other hand, the unexpected and dangerous behavior that they have displayed has caused the entire city to be placed on high alert. A group of experienced hunters was assembled for the purpose of conducting an urgent hunt, and we were called in to assist. Our investigation led us to conclude that the boar herd was most likely hidden in a mountainous woodland region that was located around the fields. The terrain was rough, and sight was restricted when this occurred. Identifying the targets would not be an easy task, but this time we had a backup plan in the form of a pack of hunting dogs who had been trained to fight. As soon as the dogs began to bark, we dispersed and moved into ambush positions from a variety of different directions. In a moment of complete anarchy, the boars were in a state of terror, but it was also the ideal opportunity to strike. Our fire was opened. The jungle was filled with the sound of gunshots. The odor of gunpowder, combined with the agonizing squeals of boars that had been injured, was heard. One could get the impression that they were in a real battlefield. A handful of the original targets were eliminated, but the remainder of the herd was not going to give up so quickly. It was not yet over to hunt. Still, there were a great number of targets that were on the run. It was imperative that we proceed quickly if we intended to eliminate as many as we possibly could. All of a sudden, a large wild boar emerged from the bushes as the individual was conducting a search of the surrounding area. In the blink of an eye, the situation became much more dangerous, but I managed to keep my composure, position myself for the ideal shot, and then fire the trigger. Suddenly, the entire woodland appeared to be a labyrinth. Boars were dispersed all over the place, ranging from large herds to lone runners. However, regardless of how quickly they fled, our hunting dogs were unrelenting and never moved from the track they were following. At that moment, I did not hesitate to push the trigger and hold my breath as I approached. Although the target ran away in a frenzy after the shot was fired, there was no way for them to get away. Its demise was sealed by a gunshot that was positioned precisely. Nothing to do to relax. We continued to move around, searching the area for further targets. A greater number of wild boars are attempting to flee the area. Without wasting any time, we threw all we had at them in an effort to stop them from causing any further harm. There were no problems taking place at all. I was able to eliminate a number of additional targets while I was located in an ambush position. The remaining members of the herd were shocked by the final shot, which caused them to run in a state of fear. Although they made an effort to conceal themselves, the dogs did not let up, and neither did we. We had no intention of allowing any of them to escape our grasp. Since these boars were responsible for so much harm, we were resolute in our determination to show no mercy. We gave it everything we had, tracking, chasing, and destroying even the smallest targets that we could find. At a time when we believed that everything was over, there were additional boars roaming up the slope, which caught me off surprise as I was making my way back. I didn't squander even a single second. In order to take aim at them, I elevated my gun. They attempted to flee, but I was just as quick as they were. Numerous gunshots were fired, one after the other, and the targets fell to the ground like diamonds. Despite the fact that the joy of the hunt is genuine, there is a very real risk lurking behind the adrenaline. These wild boars are no longer merely ruining farms. They are now also posing a threat to the lives of people by invading the city. That is the case. In recent days, the situation of wild boars in this hilly region has become out of control, and the havoc that they have caused has been out of control. The farmers in this area are exhausted. They are in need of an emergency answer, which is why we are here to provide it. Our strategy for today is twofold. First, we will set a trap for wild boars, and then we will go hunting in the mountains that are close. Large iron cage traps are dragged to a location where wild boars frequently enter and exit the region. They have been here a great number of times before, as evidenced by the dense imprints that are seen on the ground. The trap is highly fortified, and it is equipped with a surveillance camera system that is positioned in close proximity to the forest's border. Additionally, it is baited with maize and food that has the aroma of bran. After finishing, the company makes a hasty journey to the mountain, where they are prepared to begin the hunt. In order to remain hidden on the hilltops, we divided into two groups. While moving cautiously, the gang listened to and watched every action that occurred around them. As you can see, a wild boar suddenly materialized in front of you. It was decided to launch the initial round of fire. We were rather taken aback by the fact that it was able to flee without causing any harm. Ahead of you, raise the gun and ambush. Having said that, this was only the beginning. While we continued to walk forward, we were looking for the tracks left by the boars. Anything was going to happen. Take care when approaching, because it was a wild boar. The herd of pigs located here is extremely congested. Big and chubby pigs are the result. Their rate of movement is not something that should be overlooked. Because of this, it is extremely challenging to fire precisely and ultimately eliminate them. Although it appeared that an opportunity was about to present itself, the herd of pigs was able to identify the threat. They promptly made a U-turn and fled immediately afterward. We took a determined action and fired the trigger without much introspection. A target of medium size was the only one that we were able to eliminate. The crew was resolved to locate and eliminate the entire herd of pigs, despite the fact that they felt some guilt about their decision. It has arrived. Despite this, the eyes of the group continued to follow the wild pigs no matter what they did. After they had moved into the most advantageous position, they were instantly met with the sound of gunshots. The hunt went on as usual. In every instance in which we came across them, we were required to determine the proper strategies in order to maximize our efficiency while also ensuring our safety. From one conflict to the next, the number of wild boars that were eliminated rose. The fact that there were still a great number of wild boar herds hiding somewhere on this vast and rugged mountain was something we were fully aware of. The signs were everywhere, fresh tracks crisscrossing the soft soil, patches of ground turned over where they had been rooting for food, and broken branches that hinted at their recent passage. We knew that the mountain still concealed many of these creatures, lurking in the shadows, waiting for nightfall or a quiet moment to resume their search for food. The thought kept our senses sharp and our determination strong as we pressed on, determined to continue the hunt. Eventually, after traversing a series of winding trails and navigating through dense thickets, we made it to a neighboring mountain that loomed nearby, its slopes bathed in the warm glow of the afternoon sun. This was a well-known location, a place where wild boars frequently ventured during this time of day to forage for roots, tubers, and fallen fruits. The area was rich in food sources, and we had every reason to believe we would encounter them there. Our instincts, sharpened by experience, told us we were close. And, as was to be anticipated, our patience and persistence were soon rewarded. Yet another herd of pigs materialized, emerging from the edge of the forest and spreading out across the mountain slope. This time, however, the encounter escalated into a conflict far more intense than any we had faced earlier in the day. The Boars, perhaps emboldened by their numbers or driven by desperation, moved with a ferocity and unpredictability that caught us off guard at first. In order to protect ourselves and avoid the risk of being attacked by the charging pigs, we were forced to stay on the move, constantly adjusting our positions and shifting to higher or safer ground. Communication among our group became crucial as we coordinated our movements, signaling to one another silently and efficiently. The dense vegetation and uneven terrain added to the difficulty, forcing us to rely not only on our weapons, but also on our wits and experience. From our vantage points, we could still see the enormous, cumbersome boars thundering across the slopes, their powerful bodies crashing through undergrowth, their grunts echoing across the mountain. The dust rose around them, mingling with the fading sunlight to create an almost surreal scene. We knew that we could only open fire when they entered open clearings, areas where we could aim with precision and avoid the risk of hitting one another. These moments were fleeting, and we had to seize them without hesitation. Even though a significant number of the Boars had been eliminated during the intense exchange, the conflict was far from over. The remaining animals scattered in all directions, some retreating into the safety of the forest, others attempting to regroup and continue their frantic charge down the slopes. The air was filled with tension, the sounds of the forest momentarily drowned out by the echoes of gunfire and the pounding of hooves. We knew that as long as even a few of these wild creatures remained on the mountain, our work was not yet done. The hunt would continue, and so would the battle between man and nature. There is no doubt that there will be other hunting trips similar to this one in the future, as the wild boar population continues to flourish. Only a few wild pigs were able to be taken down by the most recent shooting sequence. It is unfortunate, but we ought to make a greater effort. Even if we performed a wonderful job today, there are still a lot of obstacles that are waiting for us as tomorrow approaches. The party made their way back to the section of the trap as the sky began to darken. As soon as they arrived, everyone was taken aback by the spectacle that was in front of their eyes. That was a successful trap. A minimum of 10 wild boars were confined within, and despite their frantic efforts, they were unable to break free. We made the decision to finish them out before opening the trap in order to guarantee their safety. There were dozens of wild boars that we had killed after a long day of battling, which was a considerable number in terms of our attempts to restrict the number of wild boars.